Hey guys, here's the video that some of you guys asked for about the shingle elevator, how I made it there. So I'll show it to you here and I'll describe what I did with it here. Now, this is just a simple straight run of ladder. I've got a pretty long ladder here, and just leaning up against my shop. And I just have, Princess Auto winch sitting at the bottom, hooked over the rungs. Harbor Freight winch would do the same, or any other one of these. Well, it's actually a hoist, not a winch. But in any case, I had to kind of jerry-rig the safety switch because it was always being triggered here. You could probably figure out a better way to mount this, probably something slung up underneath it, and that would be a little bit more straight pull. Would be better, but this worked for me. The cable goes all the way to the top and goes over a pulley hooked at the very, very top. It's just going hooked over the top rung there. And then comes back down and attaches to my little elevator here. It's pretty simple in design. It just has a set of casters that are spaced to run specifically on this ladder, as you can see there. And that's probably about there's only two real critical things about this. First of all, that it'd be solid, because if this pulls out, it's going to drop your shingles on you. If the structure falls apart, it's going to drop your shingles on you. I screwed the whole thing together with 2.5-inch deck screws. And what I had thought I should have done at one point was that the bolts that come through here, I should have tied back into the side rails here. So, but I didn't do it. It held together. I never put more than 2 packets of shingles on it at a time, which is about 160 pounds. Any more would likely have overwhelmed the hoist there, because that's a 330-pound hoist there, and I don't think that's single pull. I think that's with a block. So the actual straight pull would be probably about half that. So 165 pounds. So this thing doesn't weigh that much. It might weigh, 20-30 pounds worth of wood. It's a little overbuilt. The only critical things, like I said, is the spacing on the wheels and the fact that you have to set it up so that it'll stay within the ladder guide here, basically. And I screwed some 3/4-inch pieces of wood on the side to keep it from moving too much from side to side, because if it did, what happens is the wheels will basically jam up. Like one will kind of come off and then it'll just wedge itself. So they had to be there. Now, originally my concept was, it seems zoomed, sorry. Anyways, the original concept was that these pieces here would have been the width, minus 1/4 inch of the inside of the ladder between here and here. But that didn't work out well with these casters. The original idea was to take the actual casters off and use just an axle through here. But I looked at it and I said to myself, well, I don't think there's any axle I have that would be strong enough that it wouldn't just, bow, and the top of the wheel would have just came to a grinding halt against the side of this, or would have just prematurely worn it, or it would have just acted like a sledge and slid up, which I suppose is another possibility. You could just use a piece of a wood to grind against here. Like this is relatively flat, and I don't think it would wear a huge amount, although you can see all the grit from the shingles falls on the wheels, so that would be getting underneath it and probably would jam that up after a while. As far as dimensions go, I made this to put a bundle of shingles flat like that. So the distance from here to here is the width of a bundle of shingles plus a bit. It's not too critical. This height here was meant to be 4 packs of shingles high, even though I never ever put that many on. It's fast enough that I think the most I ever put on it was 2. And it seemed to do well with that. Anything more than that, and you are putting a fairly heavy load on your ladder. This is a pretty strong ladder, but even so, I don't know if it was meant to support, like somewhere close to, I guess you're talking about 320 pounds plus the weight of the the elevator. So that's really about it. If I were things I would do different on it, I think I probably would have tied these bolts into the side rails with some pieces of strapping, metal strapping. But apart from that, it seemed to work fine. I think I would make it smaller is what I'd do, because I did find that with my ladder and the height of the roof over there, the shingles were only just going high enough if the ladder was standing really, really vertical. And obviously at this angle there's not going to be any problem, but when you have the ladder really, really close to vertical with all this weight resting on here, the actual torque that would tend to pull the ladder away from the wall is actually pretty high, and it might be a little bit dangerous. You know, you might want to tie it off at the top or something, but in any case, you know, take it easy. It makes life a lot easier, so why not just, you know, haul a couple of bundles at a time. There are a lot of videos on YouTube where guys have made or purchased systems or sell systems that look pretty neat. One of the more interesting ones was a vertical, you know, it almost looked like a ladder, and all the guy did is he had one trolley on one side that he'd load up with shingles. He'd climb up on the roof, he'd ride it down. On the opposite side, it had basically a counterweight system. He'd latch that in place, load another bunch of bundles on, climb up there, unload the bundles that he had already taken up there, off, and ride it down again. Now obviously you need to be fatter than the bundles you're putting on it, but that was an interesting system. In any case, I probably overcomplicated this. It's a 6 and some minute, almost 7 minute video, but that's it. Pretty simple. This is all 2x6 construction, by the way. It's what I had lying around, and a little bit of, you know, 3/4 inch plywood. Anyways, see you guys later. And there you go. After all that talking, I never actually showed it operating. So it's not super fast, but it sure is plenty fast enough. Hell of a lot easier than lugging them up by hand. And you could certainly use it for other stuff if you needed to get anything else up high. I was thinking about doing a similar sort of an idea for sticking a bit here. Oh, that's because that's flopping around because there's not much weight on it. You can see that. Probably it would be better to more solidly affix that. I don't know why I'm having problems with it now. I never had that problem before. You know what it is? It's a much more shallow angle, and it was putting a lot more tension on the cable. But in any case, there you go. That's how it works.